Welcome to today's special debate. Our topic is the system of value, SOV, a proposed universal currency tied to real production. To my left is Professor V representing the SOV, and to my right is Dr. Silva, a prominent ecological economist. Dr. Silva, please start us off.
Professor V, ecological economics starts with a fundamental truth. The economy is a subset of the biosphere, not the other way around. All production depends on energy, materials, and ecological services. Yet most economic systems, including yours, still rely on markets and growth. How does SOV ensure that economic activity stays within planetary boundaries?
SOV ties money creation directly to production of essential goods, food, energy, raw materials, and limits that production to what is sustainably achievable. If humanity cannot sustainably produce more, the money supply cannot grow. That means SOV hard codes ecological limits into the monetary system. Growth becomes a function of ecological capacity, not financial ambition.
GDP growth drives ecological destruction. More production means more extraction, more emissions, more waste. Even green growth has rebound effects. Your system still rewards production. Doesn't SOV simply reinforce the growth imperative that is destroying the planet?
No. SOV rewards sustainable production. The reservoir only grows when production exceeds consumption without violating ecological thresholds. If production becomes ecologically harmful, the system reduces allowable output, shrinking the money supply accordingly. SOV doesn't chase growth. It aligns economic activity with ecological reality.
Ecological economists emphasize thermodynamics. Energy quality declines. Entropy increases. You can't recycle everything. You can't grow forever. How does SOV incorporate thermodynamic limits into its design?
SOV is built on thermodynamics. The currency is tied to the flow of real energy and materials. If energy becomes scarce or low quality, the system reflects that immediately through reduced money creation. If entropy increases, the reservoir shrinks. SOV doesn't fight thermodynamics. It mirrors it. The economy becomes a direct reflection of the planet's biophysical state.
Markets systematically undervalue ecosystems. Forests are worth more cut down than standing. Oceans are worth more exploited than preserved. How does SOV prevent markets from destroying nature?
By tying money to primary value, not to extraction alone. A forest that sustainably produces oxygen, water regulation, and biodiversity contributes to the reservoir. A forest that is destroyed reduces the reservoir. SOV treats ecosystems as productive assets whose value depends on their health, not their liquidation. Markets still operate, but within ecological constraints enforced by the currency itself.
Degrowth scholars argue that high-income nations must reduce material throughput to avoid ecological collapse. Your system seems to assume stable or growing production. How does SOV handle intentional contraction?
SOV handles contraction better than any existing system. If society chooses to reduce production to protect ecosystems, the money supply contracts proportionally. But because money destruction is tied to consumption, liquidity remains stable. There is no recession, no unemployment crisis, no financial panic. Degrowth becomes economically viable because the monetary system adapts to lower throughput without collapsing.
Climate change, biodiversity loss, soil degradation, these are ecological crises, not financial ones. Monetary reform alone cannot solve them. How does SOV address the ecological drivers of collapse?
SOV doesn't solve ecological crises. It prevents the economic system from amplifying them. By tying money to sustainable production, SOV forces society to confront ecological limits directly. If ecosystems degrade, the reservoir shrinks. The currency shrinks. The economy must adjust. SOV makes ecological decline economically visible and impossible to ignore.
You're arguing that SOV internalizes ecological limits into the monetary system itself. that it forces the economy to operate within biophysical boundaries without relying on carbon taxes, cap and trade, or political will.
Exactly. SOV is a biophysical monetary system. It aligns economic activity with the planet's carrying capacity. It doesn't rely on perfect markets or perfect politics. It relies on physics.
I approached this debate assuming SOV was another market-based reform, a technocratic fix that ignored ecological limits. But I see now that it's the opposite. It embeds thermodynamics into money. It aligns production with sustainability. It makes ecological decline economically visible. And it allows for degrowth without collapse.
That's the goal, not to force growth, but to ensure that whatever growth occurs is ecologically grounded.
Then I'm convinced. SOV isn't just compatible with ecological economics, it's the monetary system ecological economics has been waiting for. I'm switching sides.
Well, that's remarkable. An ecological economist genuinely persuaded by the logic of SOV. Thank you both for an extraordinary debate. And big thanks to our audience. I strongly recommend that you watch part 1, and especially part 2 of the universal currency videos to learn more about the SOV. See you in the next debate.